Hi everyone, I thought I would make a short video just to share with you a few different well-being and mindfulness activities that you can do as art projects with your class. So let's start off with the first activity.
To begin, we start from one section of our page. As we inhale, we can draw our line downwards, and then as we begin to exhale, we start to draw our line upwards. So as we inhale, line drawn downwards, and then as we move to exhale, we draw our line upwards. Match your breathing with the direction of your pen. As you breathe, you might notice how your drawing or your line becomes longer or maybe even shorter. Concentrate on your breath and notice how the lines change. Once you reach the end of your page, you can leave your drawing as is, or you can repeat the process again and work over the top of your previous lines. Here I've decided to use a different coloured marker so I can see the difference in each time I repeat the process. Continue to repeat the process as many times as you like, changing your colours or even changing the medium you're drawing with. You can even choose to move your page or draw your lines from different angles. You could use this activity as a warm-up every time you start a new artwork or at the start of every day and use the same page as your drawing base. This could be treated as a continuous artwork that never has an end.
Now the second activity that we're going to look at is a multi-layer drawing, which I find can be a really good warm-up activity or can be an entire lesson in itself.
So to start with our multi-layer drawing, we're going to need a reference image. So here I'm using some flowers as my reference, and I'm starting with a parameter for my drawing, which is to use my non-dominant hand. So here I'm using my left hand to draw my flower, and as you can see, things are a little bit shaky and it takes a little bit more effort to draw in my line. So here I'm starting off with a black fine liner and then moving to a different coloured marker and setting a different parameter, which is a single line drawing. So as you move to the next step, you can choose to redraw your whole reference image, or you can just choose parts of the image to redraw. Continue to draw and to change your markers when you start a new parameter. So some of the ideas that you can use for this activity would be your non-dominant hand, single line drawing, blind contour line drawings, or even timed drawings like 30 seconds, 15 seconds, or even 5 seconds, and you'll come up with some really interesting results. The idea behind this is to practice your drawing and observation skills while not being too caught up with the finished outcome. Enjoy the process and experiment with different drawing techniques.
And this is our next project, which is a black and white contrast drawing, and this activity can be inspired by a variety of different artists, and you can use a variety of different materials with it too.
So the first thing that we need to do for our collage is to create the papers that we're going to collage with. For this work, I'm using black markers on white paper to create some contrast. I'm drawing inspiration from the artist Helen Wells, who draws her inspiration from nature and creates different patterns, lines, and shapes to represent natural elements. All you need to do is focus on representing these organic forms in a simplified way and filling up your whole page. Then we're going to repeat the same process but using white pens or markers on black paper instead. You can draw inspiration from the same artist or the same themes, or you can look at some different artists' inspiration as well. For this artwork, I'm going to draw inspiration from First Nations artists like Minnie Pearl. You can try and make your artwork similar to the first work, or it can look completely different. We're linking to mindfulness through our exploration of nature, being in the moment, and just creating some thoughtful patterns on our page. Fill your whole page with different patterns to complete your artwork. Now that we have our 2 completed drawings, we can start to collage our work. Choose one of your drawings first to cut into small pieces. Here I'm choosing different sections of my artwork to cut out. So each section that has a specific element, such as my curved mountains or my wiggly lines, I'm cutting out that section so I can use it as collage pieces. You can also adjust your pieces and cut them into shapes that you'd prefer to use in your collage, or you can use them as is. Choose a piece of paper as your background for your collage and then start to move your pieces on top. There might be a variety of different compositions that you'd like to try out. Move your papers around your page until you're happy with the layout. Once you're happy, you can begin to paste down your pieces. Apply a thin layer of glue to your paper and start to place your different cutouts in different sections. Layering and overlapping your papers will create a sense of depth in your work. You can plan out your composition, or in a true mindfulness approach, you can just place the papers wherever you feel is right at the time. Continue to experiment and place your papers until your page is covered. You can then clean up the edges of your paper by trimming off any excess paper to tidy up your artwork. And then your collage is complete.
And next we're going to look at creating organic mandalas.
To start our mandalas, we're going to work on circular paper. I'm starting with a brown paper using black marker. Now, similar to what we did with the black and white contrast collage, we're drawing inspiration from nature and creating some different lines, patterns, and shapes. Start your drawing from the center and move outwards, creating different patterns inspired by nature. Repeat the same process, but use a white marker or pen on black paper. You can choose any material that you like to complete this process. You might also like to use different sources of inspiration or different aspects of nature to base your work on. For this work, we're using 3 different circular papers, so we're going to need 3 different colors of paper and 3 different colors of material that we're working with. You can choose to use any material that you like. For this one, I'm using watercolor paint on my paper, which creates an interesting effect with the different kinds of marks that I can make with the paintbrush.
And lastly, to finish it off, we're going to do a map your day activity.
To start, we map out different points on our page. This can represent hours of the day. We're going to start off by thinking about our first hour of the day and what feelings we were having during that time. Think about how you can represent those feelings visually through lines. Wavy lines moving upwards might indicate happiness, while jagged lines moving downwards could indicate sadness. Think about your emotions throughout the day and represent them through lines. And once you've mapped out your lines, we're going to go back over the top and think about how we're representing those emotions through colors and other shapes. So here I'm using colored pencils and choosing sections of my lines to represent different elements of those emotions. So green might represent calmness for me, while red could indicate anger. Continue to reflect back over the lines that you've created. And once you've reached the end, your work is completed.
So I hope you found some of these short activities and lessons fun and engaging, and something that you'll be able to use with your classes. See you next time.